Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden and we're going to return to a brewery that has now featured on the channel a good number of times before. I've had some really nice beers from these guys over the last kind of 18 months, 2 years, something like that, and I would say that in recent times they've really been doing some very good New England hazy IPAs as well as some really interesting sour beers as well. So I would say this is a brewery to keep an eye on over the course of 2021. I've certainly been impressed with their recent offerings. So for this one then, we are going to head to a little place called Strömstad, which is on the Swedish west coast, quite close to the Norwegian border and to the north of Gothenburg, Göteborg, and we're going to have a look at another beer from Fermenterarna, or the Fermenters, as the name would translate into English as. So this one is kind of the first of a two-parter that we're going to do, if you like. This particular beer is called the Celebration Battle Anna. There is also the Celebration Battle Niklas, which you'll see me review in a couple of videos time. Both of these are New England IPAs, both at 6.5% ABV, and they've got slightly different hop profiles in them. I guess maybe the malt base is a little bit different to suit the hops as well. But yeah, these two beers have been brewed to celebrate the 3rd anniversary of Fermenterarna. They were both released as part of the Lokal Småskaligt assortment through Systembolaget here in Sweden for March of 2021. And yeah, I'm really curious to see what they have in store for us. So yeah, the hops in this one are Idaho 7, Mosaic, Citra, Amarillo and Azacca. So I'm expecting that this one will be a little bit more kind of orangey leaning, and the other one, I think the Niklas one, had a few hops in it that meant it was going to have a little bit of a kind of gooseberry lime sort of thing and a kind of tropical vibe about it. So yeah, two quite different New England IPAs, but having had some very good New England IPAs from these guys in recent times, I'm sure they will both be pretty good actually. So yeah, definitely very curious to see how this one turns out, and hopefully it's another good beer from Fermenterarna. But like I say, I've been impressed with what they've been doing recently. The two IPAs I've had from these guys in recent times that were very good, there was the one that was simply called IPA, and that would be an awesome core range beer if they could produce that on the scale to make it so. But recently we had the Dressed for Swedish Summer, which was also really good. We had Keep on Climbing too, but I didn't think that was quite on the same level as the other two in honesty. But probably the one that was simply called IPA, that's probably the best of the three that I've had in recent times. So I would recommend that you have a go at that if it's still around actually. But that would be cool to see that introduced as a core range beer for sure. But yeah, nice to return to Fermenterarna. These two beers, as I say, brewed for the 3rd anniversary, so happy 3rd anniversary to them, and I will be keeping an eye on what they're releasing over 2021. Definitely a brewery to keep an eye on for the future, as I've said. But anyway, as is usual with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer itself. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done for Fermenterarna before, and you will see more added to that list in the near future. I'm looking forward to see what they've got coming out in April. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you happen to be interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Fermenterarna then, on to my brewery notes. So Fermenterarna was founded by Niklas Aronsson and Anna Claesson, who founded the company together back in 2018, hence their 3rd anniversary now. But the brewery itself can be found in Strömstad in Västra Götaland, as I mentioned earlier, a little bit to the north of Gothenburg and quite close to the Norwegian border. And apparently the whole idea behind brewing beer started off from two perspectives, if you like. So apparently Niklas ordered a beer in a bar one day without really knowing what it was, and it turned out that this was the Tropic Thunder from Duggesbrygge, which is kind of the cult classic sour of Swedish craft brewing, if you like. I would really recommend you check out that beer if you get the chance. But Anna, on the other hand, she had a long history with fermenting things. So she runs the restaurant Kosters Trädgårdar, and apparently she's done lots of different things, you know, sauerkraut, sourdough bread, and you know, you name it, she's tried to ferment it apparently. But the brewery itself started out with a small 200 litre brew kit and tanks, and then in late 2018 they took a break to expand the company after their beers had been received very well at different festivals. But these days they boast a new facility with two 500 litre brew kits and a total tank capacity of 17,000 litres, and they were aiming to brew 50,000 litres over the course of 2019, which I think they managed to do. But they have the equipment to brew 250,000 litres of beer per year, and I think over the course of 2020 they brewed somewhere in the region of about 100,000 litres, but I'm not sure about that. I did read that. I think I read that in like a blog post or something, so I'm not sure how true that would be, but I couldn't find the figure through beernews.sa unfortunately. But yeah, they are kind of constantly expanding, as many breweries these days are. But according to Untappd, these guys have produced around 100 different kinds of beer as of March 2021, and that number will increase no doubt over the next few kind of years and months and stuff like this. So yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Fermenterarna for the moment. But like I say, a brewery that I regard really quite highly. Their IPAs are very nice, and the sour beers are pretty good as well. So I hope that we see like a West Coast IPA and a black IPA and a few other different styles from them over the next little while. I think that would be the next step for these guys. I'd love to see like a properly big, bitter West Coast IPA from them, because they certainly do the New England side of things very, very well. But yeah, as I say, that's all I can tell you about them for the moment. If you want to learn more, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all the different beers that they've done. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer itself then. So like I told you at the start of the video, this one is a 6.5% New England IPA. It's hopped with Idaho 7, Mosaic, Citra, Amarillo and Azacca. So I would think that, you know, Idaho 7 usually gives you kind of soft tropical fruits. That's around, you know, 13-14% alpha acid. Mosaic around 14 as well. That's a nice kind of bright tangerine note. Citra we know very well, 14% alpha acid again. Mangoes, lots of little complexities. Amarillo, a big oily orangey kind of thing. I think that's about 12% alpha acid if I remember correctly. And then Azacca, it's quite a sharp mandarin from what I remember, and it's got a little bit of like a pineapple-y sort of thing to it as well. So I really think that this beer is going to be quite orangey leaning in its kind of flavour profile. But all 5 of those hops are American. Just to let you know which ones are in the Nicholas, because I did write the notes up for my, I did write the brewery notes up for the Nicholas review. Nicholas has Galaxy, Nelson Sauvin, Simcoe and Idaho 7 in it. So yeah, that's got a bit of a kind of South Pacific hop profile to it as well. So that one I think will be quite tropical leaning and a little bit gooseberry like. But yeah, we can get rid of the brewery notes now, and we can actually focus on the tasting of this beer. So you'll see the Nicholas review maybe in a couple of days time, so keep an eye out for that. But I did think about doing these as a kind of, I did think about doing these as like a dual review, but I'm still not used to my video editing software, and that would turn out to be a really long review actually to edit together. So I just wanted to do them as kind of 2 individual beers, plus the fact that, you know, these guys are doing good IPAs. It's nice to have 2 experiences rather than one kind of big one, I would think, but that's just me. But yeah, as you can see, there is the little data side of the beer, Fermenterarna. There you can see the symbol. I still get the little screen on this new GoPro kind of reflecting off the beer, but there you can see Anna happy on the front because she's made a beer. And yeah, it says on the front, it says on the back here, happy 3 years anniversary. To celebrate the 3 years anniversary of Fermenterarna's first ever sold beer, the 2 figures behind the brewery are arranging a beer battle. And then Anna says, my beer is tropical, well hopped, New England styled IPA brewed with honey from our friend Simon Rada's beekeeping in Christinaham. So it's got honey in it as well. The beer is flavoured with 5 different varieties of hops, Idaho 7, Mosaic, Citra, Amarillo and Azacca, which we've talked about, and the combination brings out a tropical flavour of pineapple and overripe mango with fresh hints of citrus and flowers. It's interesting. See, I would have thought this would be more kind of orangey leaning, but you see, gold top on the can incidentally, and I think this cost me like 45 Swedish kronor. So yeah, €4.50, about £4 sterling, about $5 American for those of you in the different places. So yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. Yeah, so there we go. 440 milliliter can incidentally, but I think you guys watching could probably tell that. And there we go. And I'll tell you straight away, this beer smells very, very nice actually. Yeah, we've still got maybe a little bit left in the can, but we'll stick that in just once we've had a little taste of it. And there we go, my OCD is happy. But there we go. Yeah, so as you can see with this one, and as you would expect from a New England IPA, this is poured a lovely, very bright yellow colour. If we shine the light through this, yeah, lovely kind of bright yellow. It looks like a mango juice. I always enjoy comparing these New England IPAs to different kind of colour of fruit juices, because that's just what they remind me of. You can see there is a solid 2/3 finger of a frothy, I would say perfect white head, 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head there, but I mean overall it does look pretty damn nice. You can see there is an impressive level of haze to this one. If we shine the light through it, I would actually say that for a 6.5%, the level of haze on that does look pretty impressive. It's not the soupiest and gloopiest of New England IPAs that you're going to come across, but then again, that's the Fermenterarna ones never kind of are. They've just always got a nice kind of solid level of haze in my experience. But yeah, it certainly looks like a very, very nice New England IPA, I have to say. 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head there. But yeah, overall, it looks very nice. You can see if I stick my fingers behind the glass there, it looks very, very good actually. So yeah, remember the colour of your beer is dependent on 2 things. 1, the type of malts that you use in the first instance, and then 2, the length of your wort boil. The longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour out of it. Adjuncts and barrel aging are also going to play a role in it as well. But honey, I would have thought honey would, that's a good point. I think I would have thought honey would make this beer a little bit darker in honesty, but it doesn't seem to have done that, because this is a very light, so it's not the palest of New England IPAs you're going to come across right enough, but it does actually look pretty damn light, to be honest. But yeah, in terms of its appearance, nothing particularly surprising about this beer when you consider what style it is. So let's have a closer look at the aroma and just see how we get on with this one. Very, very curious about this beer for sure. Oh yeah. This is, you know, when I think of the other IPAs that I've had from Fermenterarna, the profile of this one is actually very, very similar. And that's what happens, you know, when breweries do take a style like this, they're often going to develop their own little kind of niche, if you like. But the Fermenterarna IPAs, in my experience, are really nice and soft and drinkable actually. So they come across as very, very soft, but they're just packed full of flavour. Soft and juicy New England IPAs. But yeah, the aroma of this one is certainly very nice. And I'm going to say straight away, I think I was right about the orangey side of things in this beer. So yeah, I think it goes together really nicely. But yeah, let's try and break down the aroma a little bit then. I'm just going to say thumbs up straight away. So yeah, with this beer, you do get a nice little bit of wheaty bitiness out of it. It's got a good little bit of, you can smell a kind of white bready kind of character in there as well, but like I say, there's a good little bit of a wheaty bitiness. Soft white bread, nice little bit of oaty kind of creaminess as well, and you can smell the honey, I think. The honey actually takes a little bit of a back seat, but you can smell it, you know, if you just take if you take a waft of the thing like this is what we used to get told to do with chemicals in the lab at uni. Don't take a big waft of them, you know, just go like this. And, you know, smell them delicately. If you do that with the beer, if you smell it a little bit further away, you're going to get the honey out of it. But if you go right nose deep into it, I don't think the honey comes out quite as much. You're getting the more pungent wheat, and you're getting the sort of soft white bready kind of things out of it as well. The oats, I think, come out of it a little bit more the more your nose adjusts to it. You get the sort of dryness and powderiness of the oats, to be honest. So, yeah. You get more and more of that out of this beer, which I think is very, very nice. But yeah, a little bit of a, there's definitely a little bit of a kind of, how would you say, there's definitely a bit of a kind of sweet, there is a little bit of a sweet brown sugary note in there. It does come across as a little bit honey-like, but I am getting some of those kind of Werther's Original type things out of the beer as well. But the malt base comes across pretty nicely, I have to say. And my impression, if people ask me about Fermenterarna's New England IPAs, I would always say that they're kind of soft. They're quite soft smelling, but they're, you know, they've got a really nice and smooth drinkability about them. So yeah, that's what I would always think. But on the hoppy side of things then, let's focus on that. The hops are really where this beer kind of come alive, of course, but yeah, on the green side of things, there's a wee touch of earthiness to this. That'll be the Mosaic coming out of this one. Mosaic's always had a little bit of earthiness in there. You've got a nice big kind of floral aromaticity to the beer as well, which I can really appreciate. You've got a good little bit of grassiness too. And I would say that overall the grassiness actually does have a fair wee whack of zest to it. The grassiness does come out and have a little bit more pungency at the front of the nose. You get the nice deep kind of floral aromatic notes. All of the hops in this beer, of course, are high alpha acid, but I suspect they'll be being used as late addition hops. There might well be Columbus or something like that in this beer as a bittering hop, actually. So there probably will be a little bit of Columbus in the bittering hop profile here. So remember, if you add the hops early on in the boil, that's when you get bitterness. If you add them later, that's when you start to get the flavour and aroma profile. There's a gradual trade-off over your wort boil of these two properties, but the fruity side of things for me is quite interesting as well. The green component, I think, just gives you a nice, it's got a bit of a bitey, wheaty note to it, a deep kind of floral note and a bit of zest. So I think this one could well be a little bit more bitey in things than some of the other things we've had from them before. But on the fruity side of things, let's look at this. For me, it's quite an orangey leaning beer, this one, but when you've got Azaka in there, you get a bit, that's going to give you a bit of a sharper mandarin. You've got Amarillo, which is going to give you a big oily orange, and then you've got the Mosaic, which will give you a kind of juicier tangerine. I'm not surprised. I find this beer really orangey, but at the same time, behind that, you do get the nice kind of tropical elements. Idaho 7 always gives you a really soft tropical note there. It's like, you know, for me, I always got a lot of papaya and a lot of apricot and pineapple and stuff from Idaho 7, and you can get that soft tropical note in here. You do get a little bit of the kind of mango from the Citra as well. So yeah, there's quite a lot of stuff kind of going on in this one, and I think the Azaka is going to promote the pineapple. For me, it is quite pineapple-y as well, but I think the big orangey notes are the most kind of pungent things. But I think when you first look at the aroma, you're going to get a lot of orange out of it, but then when your nose fully adjusts to it, I think you start to get the kind of softer tropical notes from the Idaho 7 and the Citra as well. I do get a wee teeny hint of like a kind of gooseberry-ish note from this one as well, which I think will be coming from the Citra. There is a wee bit of that going on with this one too, but the fruity side of this beer, I think, goes together really, really nicely, and I think the aroma suits it, and it does have that typical Fermenterarna element to it in the aroma. So yeah, take a bit of time to appreciate that aroma before you get stuck in, but we're going to have a taste of this beer now and see how we get on. So this one is the Celebration Battle Anna IPA, 6.5% ABV, New England, from Fermenterarna in Strömstad. So let's have a go at this one. Happy 3rd anniversary to Fermenterarna, and hopefully there's many more to come. Slange, skål, cheers. Yeah, that's very, very nice. That is a solid beer once again from them. Not surprised. The one thing I will say, it's very, very smooth like the other ones you have. These guys have got a lovely smoothness to their New England IPAs. They're not the thickest and creamiest of things that you're going to come across within this style category, but they always seem to balance like a kind of smoothness with just a light sort of juiciness. That would be, there's just, I think, you know, I said that the Fermenterarna beers are very soft, and that, you know, this is another example of that. I love the mouthfeel that these guys have in their New England IPAs. The other thing I'll say about this one from first impressions is that you do get the honey on the back end of this beer. It's not as noticeable in the aroma, I don't think. It does take a bit of a backseat in there, but in the flavour you do get that wee bit of honey out of the beer. So that's pretty cool. But I think the honey, it's just it's quite a light flavour. It's not madly prominent, but you can certainly feel it in the middle of the palate actually. But yeah, that's another lovely New England IPA. So yeah, this is pretty cool. Where to start with this one then? Where do we start with this beer? So straight away, across the middle of your palate, you get that really nice kind of smooth white bready note, and that is the base. You know, that's the basis of a lot of the Fermenterarna IPAs. So yeah, you can feel that straight away across the palate there. The further you go into the aftertaste with it, you can feel on top of the bread, and the bread doesn't come across as too thick, but it's just a nice sort of medium kind of medium soft layer there, but you can feel that on the front half of that middle third of your tongue you start to get those softer kind of oaty notes out of the beer, but in the very centre of your tongue there's a tiny little bit of a sort of Werther's Original type quality to it, but then you can feel that nice sort of honey quality to the beer as well. So I really like how all of that kind of pieces together. Yeah, I really like how all of this, how all of that pieces together, definitely. So yeah, as I say, there's a nice sort of straight up sweet caramel in the centre of the palate there. And as you move further out from that, you start to get the lighter aspects of the honey. It almost becomes a little bit more kind of biscuity, if that makes sense. I've always found honey has that, honey to me always just has a little bit, it's got a big oily sweetness to it, but it's just got a few kind of biscuity elements. That's my take on the honey flavour, if you like. But yeah, there is a wee bit of that Werther's Original butter candy type thing in the middle of your palate there too, and that comes out underneath the honey, I think, and a little bit further into the aftertaste. But yeah, it's a very straight shooting malt base, and that's one of the other things I like about Fermenterarna. Their beers the malty side of things tends to be straight shooting, but just really well kind of executed, if that makes sense. It's just really well done, really well crafted. So yeah, I think that covers the middle third of your palate in this one, to be honest with you. On that border region between middle third and back third of your palate, there's a nice slightly thicker white bready note underneath it. You do get a little bit of a kind of bread crusty quality as well. In the back third of your palate, that's where the wheat really comes out a little bit more. You can feel a few of the yeasty elements coming out of this beer as well, actually. So yeah, yeah, for me on that back third of your palate, there's a really nice kind of, there is a very nice sort of wheaty element to it. You can feel that it's got a bit of wheaty bitiness there, and then the yeastiness just kind of thickens up, which I think is very, very nice. Yeah, I'd say at the very back of the palate, there's, yeah, the wheaty bitiness is there. It does thicken up a wee bit. It feels like a slightly thicker white bready note, but then you can feel the yeast kind of just sitting on top of the beer. And then as you move further forward into that middle third of your palate, you can feel the yeast, the thickness of the yeast just drops away slightly until you reach the border region. Then the thickness of the beer does go down quite a little bit, actually. But yeah, the malty and yeasty side of this beer, I think, goes together really nice. It's got a lovely bready quality to it. It sweetens up a little bit with the honey, and it smoothens out a little bit with the oats the further you go into the aftertaste as well. So, pardon me, yeah, I really like how this, how all of this pieces together. So it gets a big, it does get a big thumbs up from me. This one, the malty side of things, is really nicely executed. But yeah, let's focus on the hoppy side of the beer. Yeah, hoppy side of things, it's actually a lot kind of softer on the green component than the aroma would have you believe. The aroma would make you think that this beer is quite big and hoppy and almost a little bit aggressive in its green side of things, but it's actually very, very soft. But yeah, the back corners of the palate, you do get a little bit of earthiness there, but as you move further forward along the side of the palate, you get quite a bright floral aromatic component coming out of this beer, which is really interesting, and I appreciate that about this beer for sure. So yeah, it's got quite a nice, it's not such a deep floral aromatic note, it's really more bright, but then round the front corners of around the front curve of the palate, it's got a nice, it's got more of a kind of zesty, grassy type vibe to it. So yeah, I like how that all pieces together. Yeah, definitely got a nice wee bit. It really has a nice little bit of that going on, actually. So yeah, the green components of this beer, I think, suit they're a lot softer, as I say. Just got a wee bit of zesty grassiness there, and then quite a nice bright floral aromatic note. And I think that suits the fruity profile that the beer has, in honesty. So I think on that note, we should go and talk about the fruits now. But in that border region between front and middle third of your palate, again, you've got a little bit of a thicker kind of bready note there, white bready sort of thing. There's a wee bit of a bread crusty quality. Then underneath that, there's a little bit of soft white bready character again, and I think a wee bit of the oats come out to form the basis of the fruits too. But yeah, like I was saying, I think this beer does lean does lean towards the orangey side of things for me. But at the back of that front third of your palate, there's a teeny little hint of passion fruit. You do get a bit of mango in there. That's the citra that's going to give you that. And then as you just as you move further forward from that, that's when you get the soft Idaho 7 notes in there, a wee bit of the apricot, papaya type things. But then on the front half of that front third of your palate, that's when you get the orangey things, and the orangey notes for me, they grow in intensity as you go into the taste a little bit further. So I'd say the Amarillo, that you can definitely detect the flavour of the Amarillo, but it doesn't come across as quite as oily as you normally get with Amarillo, and I think that's just the influence of the Azacca and the Mosaic in here, because those are both a little bit softer and more juicy, if that makes sense. So yeah, you can feel it towards the front of the tongue. I think you get the slightly sharper mandarin-y notes of the Azacca, but then a little bit further back you're getting the more light and juicy Mosaic tangerine qualities, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's interesting that, but on top of that, you can kind of feel that on top of these oranges there is a bit of that sort of pineapple-y quality, and I think it's the Azacca and the Idaho 7 combined that are most likely to give you that sort of pineapple-y type vibe that you get out of this beer. And I think it does become a little bit more pineapple-y the further you go into the aftertaste, but for me this beer does have quite a big sort of orangey element to it. The if you've got Amarillo, Mosaic and Azacca in there, you can't avoid the oranges, but it's quite well balanced between the sort of softer tropical side of things, and I would say the tropical side of this beer is really soft, but the orangey notes are just a little tad more kind of oily, but at the same time quite juicy. But flavour profile wise, I think this is another very, very solid New England IPA. The question would be, is it as good as Swedish Summer or the original, just the one that was called IPA? And I think it's probably on the same level as Swedish Summer. I think it's probably on that kind of level. But the thing is, I think for me, and this could be the thing, is if you get the first time you try like a really good beer from a brewery, that's the one that always sticks in your mind, and that's what I'm wondering with these IPAs that I'm trying from Fermenterarna. Was the reason that I enjoyed just the one that was called IPA, is it because it's the first one and you're like, damn, this is good, and then you try the other ones that come after it and you're like, oh yeah, this is it's still really nice, but it's that impact. The impact is the thing that kind of is imprinted in your brain, if you like. So yeah, I think this one, I think it's on the same level as the Swedish Summer, but I think there's something in my brain telling me that I still like the original IPA the best out of what I've had from these guys. And I think that one, that's the other thing that's coming into my head there, is that one I think only had 2 or 3 hops in it. This one's got 5. So in some ways, maybe simplicity is best. You get this sort of thing. I mean, we had in recent times, the other thing that springs to mind is the 315 beers that we had from Dugas Brewery, and that was sort of a gimmick almost, because they had 15 hops, you had 15 malts in the stout, and you had 15 fruits in the sour. It was just mental. So maybe, yeah, simplicity maybe is better, and I'm sure that IPA that we had was just 2 or 3 hops and it worked out really well. But that's to take nothing away from this beer. I think this is, again, it's very solidly done. That's what we've come to expect from the brewery. So yeah, I think they've done a really nice job of this, and I think the balance between the orangey notes and the sort of tropical fruits in this is very, very nice, and it certainly makes me very curious to try the Nicholas. But yeah, this is a really solidly done beer. I like the little honey notes that you get out of it and the aftertaste as well. I'm a sucker for orangey leaning IPAs, so I am impressed with this one, and it kind of embodies the sort of soft, easy drinking nature of the Fermenterarna beers, and that's kind of what you want, to be honest with you. They've got a lovely, these guys are very good when it comes to the mouthfeel and giving you a really nice and smooth drinkable beer. So that's what I would always compliment Fermenterarna on, and this is another example of that in the New England IPAs. I'm really cute. I'd love to see them do a West Coast. I would love to see what their take on a proper West Coast IPA would be. Not one of these kind of lower bitterness ones, a 70-80 IBU West Coast beer. I'd love to see them have a go at this. I think they do a black IPA very well, so I hope that we see that from these guys over 2021. But yeah, this is really nicely executed. In terms of the mouthfeel then, what would we say here? It's mid-bodied. I think it's straight in the middle of the spectrum. The carbonation is very, very smooth. The mouthfeel overall, like I say, is just really smooth, and it's not creamy, it's just really drinkable actually, and that's what you would expect from this brewery. But in terms of the hoppy bitterness, I think this is a fairly standard sort of 30 Probably less than that actually. It's probably about 20 IBUs, this beer, because it's nice and juicy. It really leans towards that juicy side of things, so maybe about 20-25 IBUs at the most. Malt base, like I say, is very, very smooth. The honey notes and sweetness come out of it a little bit later on, and you've got some nice juicy fruity characteristics coming out of the beer too. So yeah, I really like how all of this goes together actually. So big thumbs up to Fermenterarna once again with this. Certainly makes me very curious to try the Nicholas, for sure. Really curious about that. But yeah, I think the Anna, the Celebration Battle Anna has been a very, very good beer. So yeah, thumbs up to Fermenterarna once again, and I think we can leave it there for this tasting. But yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Fermenterarna. We will be returning to these guys in a few videos time for the Celebration Battle Nicholas, and I've no doubt we'll return to these guys later in the year too. Slàinte, Skål, cheers. Make sure you check out this brewery. Happy 3rd anniversary to Fermenterarna, and I'll see you guys in another video very, very soon. Skål.